You're listening to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast, your podcast for escaping life's monotony, indulging in your wildest travel fantasies, and discovering the constant beauty of this ever-changing world.
On today's Travel Tuesday episode, it's just Regan and Allie, and we'll share stories with you about encounters with jellyfish, tent camping, and honeymoon embarrassments.
Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We are your navigators, Allison
and Regan, and today on Travel Tuesday, it's just us. You're going to have to deal with us for a whole episode, so hang in there. We know it's tough, but we're going to be sharing some more of our stories from our travels on this Travel Tuesday, and we have a lot between the two of us. We have traveled every year since basically we were born, so we've got a lot to share with you, and we're really excited to kind of dig deep into our travel pasts. But before we do that, I just want to encourage everybody, if you haven't already, check out our new website, which can be found at www.wanderlustingwives.com. And there we really encourage you to fill out our form and get subscribed to our newsletter. And we will be sending you emails of new episodes, exciting things that are happening. And then also we'd love to hear your stories. If you want to be a guest on our podcast, we would love to have you. So and you can find more information about us if you're interested, and cool. So with that, let's get started on some of our stories. Ellie, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous for this, just talking to you before this. I feel like we're going to be exposing each other, but it's fine. That's just what we have to do for the audience, so might as well.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, might as well do it here. One story that I really love, and not to get too sappy, but in 2018, my husband, boyfriend at the time, and I decided, we're not going to get each other like Valentine's Day gifts. Let's plan a trip together. So we both love baseball, and baseball season is starting soon, so we're really excited. But we decided we're going to do a stadium road trip, and we camped the whole 10 days. Well, I should say, let me backtrack. The first day we were in Cincinnati, and it was the craziest rain I've ever seen in my life. Like, I felt like Noah's Ark was about to just pop out because we were flooding the highway, and I'm like, what is happening? We could barely see anything. So needless to say, the baseball game was canceled, and we were tent camping. So we're like, yeah, that is not happening. I'm not going to be floating down the driveway of the campground in my tent. So we decided to book a hotel for that night. But all the other nights we stayed in a tent, and this was like towards the end of May. So the weather was nice enough to do so. And we went to Cincinnati. We did Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York. And we got to see 5 different games in the 10-day stretch there. And that trip just like solidified, at least for me, that Nate was going to be the one. Because if you can spend 10 days in a tent with someone and traveling to a new city almost every single day, I think you can do a lot in life with each other. So despite the ants getting into our tent, the Noah's Ark like flooding, we decided that we were going to push on through, and we wanted to be travel buddies for life. So we dated like a year and a half, 2 years after that, and then he proposed, and it's like, finally, I've only known for like a year and a half now that you were the one. So it was a nice kind of test to see if we could live with each other and how we would handle stressful situations with one another. So it's one of my favorite travel memories, just because it was one of the first trips we went on together, and it just made me realize, I think I can do life with this guy. So it was fun.
Aw.
Yeah.
Aw, that's so sweet. And you're totally right. Tent camping, what a test of a relationship.
Oh, yeah, it was a test, but it was mostly fun. It's something we talk about all the time, especially with baseball season starting soon. It's just so fun to reflect on that trip, and we're going to be going to a lot of baseball games this summer, so it'll be exciting to kind of relive that. It's not going to be like a stadium tour, but kind of just go back to our roots and enjoy some baseball together this summer.
Aw, I love that. And it's also just like, well, when you're in college, you don't have a ton of money to like go out and do all of the really crazy things and like stay in the 5-star resorts and everything. Heck, I've been working for a few years and I don't have the money to go on a lavish vacation. But you like just did what you could and you made it work, and you're all the better for it because now you're married to him forever. It's really sweet.
Yeah, and like if you know me personally, I am a rule follower, type A person, and I was only 20 at the time and he was 19, and I was like, "Well, we're never going to be able to get a hotel because a lot of hotels want you to be 21." And so I'm like, "We're going to make this happen, but we're going to have to be in a tent." Minus the one hotel we did find in Cincinnati did let us stay there. They didn't like question our age, so I was like, "Oh, thank goodness." But yeah, it was challenging to try to figure out, especially like camping in New York City. Who would have thought? We stayed at this old abandoned airport, which was so cool, and it was a once in a lifetime experience because I'm probably never going back to that campground. It wasn't the best, but at least it was memorable despite the ants and the extremely hot weather, but it was good.
Good on you. Nolan and I went tent camping for 2 nights. I think we were there 2 nights last summer for the first time, and we were miserable. So good on you for sticking it out. I think my first story that I'd like to share is an Airbnb. And as you know, like Airbnbs, you never know what you're gonna get. Like you might stay in a room in someone's house or whatnot, and the host may or may not be around, everything. So I went to Ireland with my parents, and me and Nolan, the four of us went, and we did like basically an overnight flight because with the time change and everything, we got there super early in the morning, and my mom planned it so that we kind of just hit the ground running. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. It was awesome to get like go right in and start to explore and everything, but truly I don't remember a single thing from that first day because I was asleep standing up for all of the tours. And I remember there was a bench outside of one of the castles or something that we were touring, and yeah, my dad fell asleep on it. So like that's how tired we were. But it was really cool to just be there and adjust and like see all the history. It was awesome. So we get to our Airbnb the first night, and I think it was in I can't remember, y'all, I think is how it's pronounced. And we were staying with this couple, Barbara and Jay, and we get there, and like I said, we are so tired, like asleep, standing up. I'm not even kidding. I can't tell you a single thing that happened that day. And so we really just want to go to sleep. That's all we wanted. Well, very nice. But this woman, Barbara, talked and talked and talked and talked and talked for like literally when we arrived, like over an hour. My dad even fell asleep on the bed in the room. And she was like, "Oh, is he asleep?" And we're like, "Yeah, it's been a really long day." And she was like, "Oh," and then kept talking. And what was she talking about, you might ask? Well, she was, name dropping for these famous people that she knows. And she's like, into film and stuff. So she's been an extra in a couple of different movies, and she has her 3-page resume like framed in on the wall of their home. So she was like very much a character. And her husband like couldn't get a word in edgewise. And so we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. She just keeps talking." And he literally came over at one point with a remote as if to try and turn her off and like get her so that we could go to sleep. So finally, we went to sleep. The rooms, I believe, were like Elvis themed and peacock themed or something. I don't know. Yeah, and we'd been up for like 37 hours. So what's one more of Barbara talking to us? But we woke up the next morning and we had breakfast, and suddenly they'd switched roles. And now the husband, Jay, was talking nonstop. And this man is such a character. Like when you think Irish man, and actually he wasn't even from Ireland, he was from Liverpool originally, but he like hates Ringo Starr and like was very like proclaimed that several times, and like kept talking about how he looks so good in suits and that like he hates man buns. And Nolan at one point had a man bun, so that came up somehow, and he's like just, oh my goodness, he was slamming football, and oh my goodness, it was just, he was such a character. So that I will never forget, of like not being able to get out of that Airbnb because they just kept talking and talking and talking. So that's really something that we remember to this day, of just like, I'm pretty sure at one point too, I don't know why, but Jay just kept going on about I truly don't know what, but he kept going to Nolan, kiss, kiss, let me get your phone number, which was very strange. So that was just a weird night, especially the first night to be in a foreign country where you like have no idea where you are and you're exhausted. So yeah, that was a good time. You never know what you're gonna get with an Airbnb. Very nice people. Very strange experience.
Yeah. I think I've only stayed in Airbnb twice that actually, like, the people were there, and it was Framar, which if you haven't heard about him, check out our Iceland episode,
Yeah.
and then the other one was in Florida, and it was nice because the people, yes, they were there, but we saw them, like, maybe twice, and it was, like, when they greeted us to say, like, "Hey, here's the kitchen, here if you wanna make breakfast, whatever, here's the stuff," and then kinda like, "Hello, goodbye." That was basically it. They didn't bombard us and practically trap
Yeah,
us in their house, so I guess it's just a risk that you have to take if you're willing to stay when the host is going to be there. I personally, just being more of an introvert, like to be like, "Yeah, no thanks, I'll just stay with the people who are with me, and that's good enough for me." So,
but yeah, it was like probably any other time my mom would have loved to sit and talk with them, but we'd been up for 37 hours and my dad literally was snoring on the bed. And she was like, "Oh, well, let me keep talking for a while still. It seems like you're fine." Like, it was just hilarious.
yeah, that's different.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, speaking of Europe, my next story is kinda crazy. So, my first trip to Europe, I was in 3rd grade, so, like, 8 years old, roughly. And one of the places we went to was Italy, and we were with EF Tours, if you ever heard of them, it's a travel company. We went with them and, like, a bunch of students because my dad's a high school history teacher, and he was taking students over there, and being his daughter, my brother and I and my mom all got to go with him. So we're in the hotel in Italy, and we see a familiar face, and we're like, "Wait a minute, that's Mrs. So and so." I won't say her name, we'll just say it's Mrs. Smith. I won't I won't give the teacher's name out, but we'll just say Mrs. Smith and, I don't know, Mrs. John, whatever, are in the lobby of the hotel that we are staying at, and they are not on the trip with us. They are teachers from the school district that we go to in the same exact hotel, in the lobby at the same exact time as us. Like, how crazy is that? Like,
Oh my
we had
gosh.
to things had to line up so perfectly. Granted, it was, like, our February break, so they were there because they were on break and so were we, but the fact that we're staying in the same hotel and we were there in the lobby at the same time is the true, like, it's a small world kind of scenario. Like, who would have thought that we would have seen Mrs. Smith and Mrs. John in our hotel in Italy? Like, we had to fly all the way over the ocean to see them.
That is insane. What are the odds?
I know, apparently 100% because we saw them. But it was just we still talk about it to this day, like, you don't realize how small of a world it is until things like that happen, you're like, "Oh my gosh." It's wild.
That's, like, such a unique story too. I like, how many times does that happen? Like, never.
Right.
Dang. Oh my goodness. That's such a, like, double take moment for sure.
Mhm, it's like, "Am I dreaming? Are they really here?"
No, not my teachers. This is supposed to
Yeah,
be a
right, like, "Don't give me
break.
homework."
Oh my
But yeah,
gosh, that's too
pretty cool.
funny. Ugh. Well, I mean, kind of, we're doing some nice segues here because speaking of surprises, sort of, my next story. When I have an 8-year gap between myself and my older brother, Brendan. And when he went to college, he went to Northwestern University, which is in Chicago. And then from there, he decided to do Teach for America, which took him to Phoenix, Arizona. So he continually got farther and farther away from us, and I got sadder and sadder. But just kidding. Well, no, not really, but we're good now. Um, and a few years in to his job, he had been selected to receive the Teacher of the Year award for his school district. And huge thing, like we really weren't seeing him very much, like a couple times a year when he'd come home. But in the time that he was there, he got a girlfriend, and we were very excited to meet her and everything. But we had not met her because she was in Phoenix and we were in New York, of course. And traveling is a little tricky between those two. So when we learned that he was getting this award, my mom orchestrated this whole thing through his girlfriend, who we had all never met before, that we were going to surprise him in Phoenix, attend this award ceremony, and yeah, then just be there for him as he got this award, and that was going to be really special. So this whole plan was put in place. Brendan never knew. So we fly out to Phoenix. And every Thursday, Brendan and Emily, his girlfriend at the time and now wife, had Chick-fil-A Thursdays, where they would go to Chick-fil-A for dinner every single Thursday. So we flew in on a Thursday and we went to their Chick-fil-A. But he didn't know, of course. So we're sitting at this table. I have like my parents were there, and my sister and her husband and their kiddo, Kenley, were all there. And we see him coming up the like drive to come into the building, and we're just like looking out from behind the pillars and stuff. And my mom was like, "Oh, we should all hide in the bathroom," and we're like, "No, we're not going to do that." And he walks up into the building. He walks up to the counter, and we sent Kenley, who was like, I don't know, maybe 1.5, 2 years old, walking over to him to just like tap him on the shoulder as he's making his order. And he turns around, and his reaction, he was glued to the wall of a Chick-fil-A for like 5 minutes straight because he could not believe that we were there. And of course, then we all jump out, and he like did this double take, like, oh my gosh, is that actually Kenley who's there? And she's kind of hard to miss because she has like bright red hair. But that was just, oh my gosh, that was such a classic moment. We have a video of it, and I'm not kidding. He was glued to the wall of the Chick-fil-A in disbelief. So that was a really special experience. And then we got to go to the ceremony for him and everything. So we got to be there for him for that special moment. But that was well played, I would say. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that story. I forgot that even happened. That was the fun little walk down memory lane for myself. I wasn't even there, but I remember you guys talking about it. So yeah, that's such a great experience and memory that you all can share with him. I would be absolutely shocked too. Like, what is this child who looks like my niece doing touching me in Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, right?
And then you guys pop out. That's awesome.
Yeah. And his Chick-fil-A was already paid for by my parents. Like, does it get better?
I don't know if it does. That is pretty awesome. I'm ready to be
Yeah.
teacher of the year so people can surprise me. And now a quick word from our sponsor. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. The entire web becomes listenable for the first time, all in one place. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And the best part, they have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. You can even find us there. I started using it as my default podcast app. They even have a digital radio. Download and use Newsly for free now at www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code WIVES. That's WIVES. And you can get a 1-month free premium subscription. You can find all this information in our description from this episode. And now back to our episode. Well, my story is not as fun as a surprise, but it's okay. So I have been on a handful of cruises, and my family has never been on a cruise with just my family. We've gone with Regan's family, another one of my friends, one of my brother's friends. So this specific time, we were with my brother's friends and their family, and I think we was Cozumel, I think it was. And we were just snorkeling off like this area that they had. It wasn't like an excursion or anything like that. We have done excursions with snorkeling and stuff. So we're like, oh, we'll be fine. We'll just rent some stuff from this place. And they had like an area where you could walk in and, swim around and snorkel. So we did that. First of all, I didn't want to get in the water because there was like barracudas because they feed them by the edge. So I thought it was feeding time when people are standing there. So I was already freaked out. If you've seen a barracuda, they are not small. So I'm like, I don't really want to get in the water, but I did eventually get in, and I was just doing my thing, snorkeling, whatever. And one of my brother's friends like, ow, I think I just got stung. And I'm like, no, you didn't. There's no jellyfish around here. So then I swim over to him to inspect it. And all of a sudden I'm like, ow, I just got stung. So now my brother's friend is stung. I am stung. And now our moms are like worried about us. So they start swimming over. My mom gets stung. So at this point, there's 3 of us out of, I think there was 7 or 8 of us swimming in that area. So all 3 of us are stung. I can't remember if the boy's mom got stung, but at least I did. My mom and my brother's friend all got stung by a jellyfish. And this little bugger was one of those ones that is just very clear on the top and like on the smaller side. So you can't even really see them when you're swimming. And I didn't see him even after I got stung. So I had whip marks like all around my leg, on my stomach, on my arm. No, we did not pee on ourselves. I know that's one thing that people say to do. We did not pee on ourselves, but the people at like the like snorkel dive shop just poured vinegar on us. Apparently that's supposed to help. I don't really think it helped that much. It was still burning long after, and for a while I had some scars, but thankfully they have gone away. But I guess it's kind of cool that I can say I got stung by a jellyfish and survived. It didn't feel so cool in the moment, but now it's like a fun little story that I like to share. And I have not, well, I think I've been snorkeling one time after that, but I do not really have a desire to go out and snorkel or be in the ocean really past like dipping my toes in. I'd rather just stay on the beach and read a book and enjoy the ocean from the sand.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
And I don't
it's
blame
not
you for not
fun.
wanting to cuddle with barracudas. I did that a couple times, and for that reason, I am also okay to never snorkel again.
Yeah, between that, sharks, it seems like whenever they take you on an excursion, it's just like a drop off nearby, and that freaks me
Mm.
out because I'm like, how am I gonna know if there's a shark? And then everyone's swimming on top of each other practically, and then you have these fins on, and someone's fin kicks you, and you're like, oh crap, that's a shark. Or their life jacket, like little string, is too long, and it tickles your leg, and you're like, oh, here I go again. I'm gonna die by a sting right now. So I just try to stay away from those kind of
And also, haven't you
excursions.
seen Finding Nemo? Like, the drop off equals
Yes,
bad, you
that is
know?
true. I've never thought of it like
Mhm.
that, but now I'm definitely not going snorkeling.
The one exception I will say, like, I would go snorkeling, in Dry Tortugas National Park, and I would go snorkeling in Australia. Like, I would
Okay.
force myself to do those 2 things, but other than that, it might take a little bit of convincing.
I could maybe do Australia. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like maybe since I've flown all that way.
You
Uh,
gotta.
yeah,
It's the Great Barrier Reef, you gotta, you know?
I know, but it's still ocean life.
The ocean is a deep, dark, weird place. Yeah,
It
it's
is.
it's valid, that's for sure. Okay, well, my last story from me, and then I know we've got a couple of like us stories to share. This will be a very quick one, but so on our honeymoon, Nolan and I went on a cruise. And we went out of Fort Lauderdale, which we loved. It was great. And our ports were Half Moon Key, Grand Turk, and Amber Cove. I don't know why I'm telling you that. Actually, that's not relevant to the story. But one of the things that we've shared that we love about a cruise is that you really get to know your wait staff. And our head waiter, his name was Ernesto, and we requested his tables every night because he was just the best. And one night, he found out we were on our honeymoon. And we were not at all expecting it. It was the captain's dinner night, so we're all like dressed up nice. And Nolan ate like 3 lobster tails or something. I don't know. But Ernesto came over with like a bunch of other people with this cute little like heart-shaped chocolate cake. We were like, "Oh, this is so cute." And he was like, "Oh, okay, now you have to go sit next to Nolan." And I was like, "Oh, this is adorable." But then they threw a napkin over our heads and they were like, we're going to start singing and you start kissing and you can't stop kissing until we stop singing. And we were like, what is happening? We're laughing too hard. We can't kiss in that moment. We were laughing so hard. And they start singing, happy honeymoon to you, kissy, kissy. And they just sang that song. It was hilarious. The cake was delicious. And like, I'm pretty sure I got a 6-pack that night from laughing so hard.
Oh my gosh, I'm feeling embarrassed and I wasn't even there. Oh my
It was
gosh.
yeah, that was a fun one. All right. Let's wrap this up with one story each from like vacations we've both been on. Some memories together. And honestly, I don't know what you have, so this might be the part where we're like, you know, embarrassing one another, but I'm here for it. You have my permission for whatever you're going to say.
I am not gonna embarrass you, but something tells me you're gonna
Oh,
embarrass
thank
me,
God.
so I'm getting a little nervous up here. But I swear I tried to think of something other than Iceland, but lo and behold, we are here.
It's just the best. Yeah.
It's hard to avoid it. So, without getting too emotional, Iceland felt like a huge turning point for mine and Regan's friendship. So, we have had our struggles in the past, middle school, high school, whatever. We've been friends since, gosh, second, third grade, so like 17 years. Long time. We're only 25 people, okay? So, most of our life, we've been friends. And that was really like the point that I realized, like, you know what? This is a friend for life. We had a honeymoon suite together. We did not do
We
kissy
did.
kissy underneath the napkin.
Underneath the red comforter.
Yes, we kept it PG, okay? Actually, G, really, G.
Yeah.
And I just remember having so many like late night talks and just talking about our future and just things that we are excited for. And it felt like a really good starting point for the next chapter of our friendship. And it's just something that I'll always carry with me. And I just love that that trip brought us together. And who knows where our friendship would be if it wasn't for that trip. I would like to think we would still be really good friends, but you never know. And I'm just really, really thankful that Iceland brought us together in the honeymoon suite and just late night talks. And that's when I first learned about Nolan. And now it's like, oh my gosh, they're married. How fun is that? So I really just cherish those memories. I think that's why we continue to talk about, at least I continue to talk about Iceland. Not only was it an amazing country and we have so many good experiences from that, but just realizing like my best friend for life and I are finally mending things. We didn't have serious problems, okay, people? We're good friends, okay? But we kind of felt like we were getting over that bump of our rough patches, and now it's just been golden since then. And I'm just really, really thankful for that trip and yeah, where we are now.
Oh, you said you weren't gonna get emotional, and then you made me emotional. But
I know
it's
I'm,
like
I'm fighting back the tears, okay?
I'm really like I think it's interesting because I've internally thought of that trip in the same way. I don't know that we've like verbalized that in the way that you just said. And when as you were just speaking just now, I'm like, oh yeah, like we're on the same page here. It's just it's so true. That was you know teenagers ups and downs and like what's really amazing is when you're able to carry a friendship through all of those ups and downs and yeah it our friendship didn't get to as bad as like you hear some other friendships, but that trip truly like the memories we shared and like I'll never forget. Good stuff. Thank you
Yeah,
for
one
sharing
to
that.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now go
All
ahead.
right, I'm gonna close it out with
Yep.
a classic, truly a classic story.
Oh
So
gosh.
one of the first vacations that Allie and I went on together was our entire neighborhood went and rented a house in the Outer Banks. And Allie's family was not able to join us on the trip for scheduling reasons. So Allie joined my family. And we decided that we were going to do like a beach Jeep rental and we were going to drive our Jeeps on the beach to go and see these wild horses. A total ripoff. But this story comes from that trip, so maybe not an entire ripoff. So we're at the place where we're picking up our Jeep And my mom, of course, as always, she's like, everyone need to go to the bathroom. Like, are you all good? We ready to go? Just like really making sure that we're all, empty. Our tanks are empty. And so Allie's like, yep, I'm good. I'm like, yep, I'm good. Everyone's good to go. We get in our Jeeps and we get going. And about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes in, Allie's like, wow, I really have to go to the bathroom. And my mom, being a mom, she's like, I told you to go when we were at the place. And so Allie's like, no, like, I really, really have to pee. So we're like, well, what do we do? We're like on the beach, like on this tour. What do we do? So my mom had a plastic water bottle and she used her keys to cut the water bottle in half. And then we said, David, my dad, don't look in the back seat. And Allie, you bet, squatted over that half of a water bottle and emptied her tank right there in the back of that Jeep. So we left several ounces of Allie liquid on the beach somewhere that day.
That is a story I will never live down.
Nope.
That was not one of my best moments in life, but hey, it's okay. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. It's a good memory. You know it's good when you do talk about it more.
Yes,
those are the
it's
best
fun.
memories.
Definitely.
But anyways, so this was a fun little Travel Tuesday. I'm glad we did this and just shared our stories for a week.
Yeah, let us know some of your crazy stories. Where have you peed that is obscure? Or what are some fun memories that you have or trips that brought you closer together to people? We want to hear your stories. Email us, fill out a form on our website, send us a DM. We want to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Lives podcast. Come escape with us again every other Tuesday for Travel Tuesdays and every other Wednesday for Wildcard Wednesdays.
Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until next time, wander on!